Welcome back to On Right Podcast here. You have Elijah alongside Grant. Another episode. College basketball just ended. Kansas reigned the champs. NBA is approaching the end of their season here. Not how we thought. I know if you go back and listen to some of these podcasts from the beginning of NBA season here, we sound very fanboyish compared to how some of these teams ended. But we throw it to you. Talk about the Lakers, who are officially out, and then slide over to a couple of other Nets and other disappointments on the year.
Yeah. First, before I get started, I want to. I know you're a little bit of a new UNC fan, pretty big UNC fan. What were your takeaways from the game on Monday?
Yeah, no. So I personally think it hurt them that they only played like 5 guys. I think they kind of just they ran out the gas tank. They kind of couldn't they ran out of fuel at the end. That's really what I think. But overall, I think they didn't really skip a beat after Roy Williams. Obviously they picked up where Roy Williams left off as far as at the peak, getting right back into the mix. I think it's UNC. They're always going to be a good in the mix. But I think this was a great way to start out, a new coach's tenure. Yeah. So with that being said, side note, I think Caleb Love guy, he's a great player. I didn't watch him play a whole lot this year, but he really stood out to me in the tournament. He's very explosive. But overall, I think they're in great hands, and they'll be in the mix. And it's going to be interesting to see that rivalry and Duke's rivalry continue with Coach K stepping down, and see the two new coaches and how that's going to go out for the future here. So
yeah, I'm sure you saw that stat too, where they before that game, it was the Coach K's like tenure, like the record against him was like 49 or 50 and 49.
Yep.
And I think Duke had like a plus 22 like margin as far as like points, and then I think it's hilarious that he got sent home by his arch rival for good, like just in that kind of fashion. By far, probably one of the best games I've watched, probably in the last 2 years as far as in the tournament. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better basketball game too. So.
Yeah, awesome basketball game. Obviously, not be the biggest Coach K fan, but he a great coach throughout the last 40 years. So it's kind of crazy to see him step down. You could tell how much he did want to win. That he was physically sick. You could see it on his face as that clock was ticking, and once he was realizing that they weren't going to get there. The team ran off the court, didn't shake the hands, but I seen that he stayed and shook all the players' hands for North Carolina, the coaches. So he still stood tall at the end of all of that. So it was, it's kind of an end of an era. It's the end of an era of college basketball. I don't, it's going to be, I don't know any other coach that ever coached at Duke. I don't know, as far as North Carolina, I don't remember anybody prior to Roy Williams as well. So, it's kind of an end of a major era as far as that rivalry goes. But.
Yeah, we're starting to kind of see, we didn't watch Hubert Davis, really play. I think he did end up playing for the Pistons back in the day a little bit. But, it's crazy. Like John Shire is going to be taking over. And like I remember growing up watching him and hating him. So it's kind of just crazy that we're starting to get to that era where, we're watching a lot of players that we grew up playing. They're now coaching. They're starting to kind of get, into some of them coaching spots. So,
for sure. It's scattered across, Juwan Howard, Penny Hardaway, so I think it's, scattered across the league as far as, and I'm skipping on somebody else that I just heard of the other day.
Stackhouse.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
Vanderbilt.
Yeah. So, they're a lot. And I think, I know we've always talked about this, but I think they're much more relatable. And that's, that's where it's headed. But, I'm glad to see the Michigan one of the first ones to hop on that train. And
absolutely.
Well, so no, it's just interesting how basketball, kind of changes and progresses over the years. As far as, when we first started watching, every coach was 75 years old, Bob Knight type deal. So compared to some of these coaches now, old and just from a different cloth, we'll say that. Compared to who's getting the jobs now. So
yeah, absolutely. But we can now get to the more depressing part of the episode. Talk about Lakers. They're done. Let's be real. They were done like a month and a half ago. Like I didn't even it's one of those things where I think, I mean, there's just so many like issues that they was running into. Probably injuries being one, but like, I mean, I think I told you, last July, August, like when they got Russ, nothing against him. I just I didn't really think he was going to fit, you know. I saw LeBron's thought process, you know what I'm saying, as far as like, thinking he was, kind of be able to come in and run the show. But I just think for Russ, like, not trying to point the finger at him or anything or say it's like his fault directly. I think like kind of that pressure of coming home and, you know what I'm saying, and just, it's spotlight is a little bit brighter when you're not playing for like OKC or like Houston or, Washington. And then on top of that, I mean, they had an injury bug like out the ass. I mean, I remember you got Kendrick Nunn. He's not going to play at all this season. I think LeBron missed like 25, 30 games. AD missed like 35, 40 games. Melo ended up missing like 15, 20 games. Dwight Howard, the list goes on and on as far as, that. And, but it is still kind of disappointing because, you think that they'd at least been able to, be a 6 seed or, be the 7th seed in the play-in. But, they're on TV quite a bit. So we see everything that's going on. And they even see them, and I think they're up by 20 against the Pelicans like a couple weeks ago, and they ended up like blowing that lead. They lost to the Rockets like 2 or 3 weeks ago, blew that lead in overtime. And then you see them, somehow beat Golden State, like LeBron has like the game of this, one of the best games of the season. And huge disappointment. So what I'm be real interested in is, because now, you're sitting here, you're about to lose 50 games, probably for the first time in a little bit in the season. You got no draft picks. Got Russ's fat contract. You got a player option. He's 40-something mil, so he's definitely picking it up. And
doing your favors.
Yeah. Yeah, like you ain't, there's not a lot of flexibility. I know they've kind of talked about, trading AD or something. You kind of see that, kind of in the Twitter world, just circulating a little bit. And then I just think one of the things too, where it's, you got LeBron kind of on the back half of his career. Injuries are definitely starting to show their face a little bit more often, a little bit more frequently. So it's gonna be the summer will be real interesting as far as waiting to see if LeBron's going to sign that extension, and then also seeing what they're able to pull off in free agency. They're really going to have to just retool the entire team for the most part. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, I think I don't know. Let me ask you this, because I know we were texting about the other day. So LeBron, he has a player option this summer?
Yep.
Yeah.
So he can
not take it and go somewhere else, theoretically.
Yeah. Like it's like he can basically just like not sign extension and then just be up.
Yeah. Okay. So I kind of think that's going to happen. I think that bridge is, or I don't want to say the bridge is burned, but I'd say it's ran its course. Yeah, I would say he got the championship was won there. Laker Nation got to put up whatever it is, 17, 18, 19. They got something like that. He was able to get number 4. He was able to get number 4. And I think, that was the best that's ever going to get as far as this situation goes. I would say obviously this year is a major disappointment, but I would say moving forward, I can't imagine him being there. I think he wants to be in the mix. I don't think he wants to be in this type of, even if he, like you said, even if it was a 6 seed or a 7 seed you're playing in, you're probably at a different I'm having a different conversation with you. Even though I do think that would still be some sort of a disappointment. But if you're in that mix and maybe you win a series or maybe you push somebody to, competitive need, you say, okay, we just need this. I don't really think there is just this to fix the issue. You said, no, you don't have no draft capital. You have very little money to play with as far as free agency. You're one of the oldest team. I think that we're the oldest team ever assembled. So I just think that's all bad. And I can't imagine them fixing that easily. So I kind of think he'll be on the move to somebody more in the mix. I'm not saying necessarily he'll be I'm not gonna say he's championship hunting, but I do say he wants to be in a team that's going to be somewhat formidable. And obviously you throw him on a team that makes most teams pretty formidable anyway. So I think Like we've talked about Cleveland. I wouldn't be shy. He recently talked about Steph Curry. Maybe they could figure out a way to get to the Warriors. I'm not. That would be much more championship type of level team, I would imagine, than if he ended up in Cleveland again.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately the season just didn't, like you said, due to injuries, due to the coaching mishaps, just age in general. And I'm not going to put a lot on Russ. I do think Russ is playing identical to what he normally plays like. I just think it didn't work. I think,
Yeah.
I think he across the board is playing maybe 5% worse than he's played most other years. But it's not like, he's fell off the cliff. I just think it's not working. And he never has the peaks that he can have on his own team.
Yeah.
So you can kind of take the top off of his game, and he's stuck more on that mid-level where he normally is, and he can never get you to 40, 15 to 15 games at all. Like he would be if there was nobody else on the team, like he has been for the last 5-10 years. And I think it's an interesting spot, for all of them. I think I was excited to see Melo get a ring if that was a possibility.
Yeah.
Excited to, that type of stuff we're more or less robbed from. Or at least I know as a Melo fan, I know that's just not going to happen. I can't imagine him being on a championship team. That ship has sailed. So it's kind of we talk about an end of an era for that. This is kind of another bookend where that was going to be like if they would have put it together, that would be a championship team for a lot of our favorite players we watched growing up.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with all that. I mean, I think, and then the toughest thing of it too, because the person that I kind of, when I say like I kind of put it on his shoulders, and not really talk about just like him being injured, like that's obviously something you can't control. But AD, like he's kind of like when I say this, like he's kind of shown that he can't really shoulder a team because he can't stay healthy himself. And now I said like you can't control, whether you're healthy or you're not healthy, but it's just one of them things where it's like, I kind of expected, I think we all kind of expected like, a little bit more, out of him, but then it's also tough when he's just like not available. Cause I said from the jump, I told you a few different times, like he got to be the anchor, he got to be the guy, I always felt like he could be a 27 and 14, 30 and 15 kind of guy. But, even when he was playing, I watched, one thing I never understand, whenever they play Giannis, like Giannis is showing up ready to ball, and like AD just be like sleepwalking. And I think that both the times they played the Bucks, Giannis ended up averaging around like 40 points in each game this year. So I think, it kind of like comes down to that, to where it's just like they're at a crossroads to where if they don't really, and this is how it is, like, LeBron is obviously best player in the world in some people's opinions, best of all time in some people's, mind. So he definitely deserves right to like, contend for a championship, year in and year out. But now it's going to be one of those situations where, Pelinka probably already sweating like, all right, like, I got to try to get, some more shooters in here, get a little younger, but like you said, I mean, it's I don't know what the cap number is or what it's going to be, because I know a lot of them guys are there on 1-year deals. So I'm sure they, go end up, moving on. And then, we'll see, because like even Russ, like, he is who he is. We understand who he is as a player, but like people kind of saw what was happening to him this year. So like they're not going to really be so willing to
100%.
his trade values down.
As far as the cap, let's say Russ is going to pick it up, right? For sure. AD's already on the books. Let's say LeBron picks his up. That's 3 maxes, or damn near 3 maxes.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be able to have too much. There's not too much more of that pie to go around, regardless.
Right, and you're not going to like get like a discounted within Malik Monk and like Kendrick Nunn. You might, but like what I'm saying, like it's
Malik going to get that bag,
right? Because people gonna be like, LeBron about to be 38.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like you look like Milwaukee.
And somebody like Malik Monk in particular, this was kind of like a prove it year for him. Like So
now it's like.
Right. So he'll get that bag.
Right. Yeah. So they'll either try to have to pay him more, or he gonna move on. And I just think too, like, as a free agent, like a big time free agent this summer, I mean, I think it'd be obviously probably be cool to play with LeBron, but it's also on the flip side. It's like some guys nowadays are like, I don't really like care to play with LeBron. You know what I'm saying? Like there's just so many factors that kind of come into play to where, it ain't, I feel like you would think that like people would be like lining up to come see the Lake Show, but like their team was in such shambles this year. It's one thing if you were a 6 seed and took like Golden State to like 7 games and went out swinging. Maybe you might be able to snag a couple of people from a couple of different teams here and there. But it's another thing to be 31-47, like.
Yeah, and like you said, AD hasn't stepped up in the role that he was supposed to. As far as this should theoretically kind of be his team by now.
Right.
And if that was the case, then you could probably still get, LeBron could restructure his deal. Let's go get some people. Let's go for this again. All right, we're short because we needed a backup point guard or whatever. So,
yep.
So
I know.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I know Pelinka's sweating.
Didn't happen. So yeah.
Right, I know Pelinka's sweating because like it's free agency, and then LeBron, I don't think he had to sign it until August. So he's gonna be sitting back, chilling, just kind of watching to see what's gonna happen. And then, yeah, I mean, he gonna just do what he usually does. Kind of goes in like, 4 years, reevaluate. 4 years. Or it's like 2-year extension, reevaluate, make a move. 2-year extension, reevaluate, make a move. So, we'll see what happens as far as with that. I mean, as a LeBron fan, I'd like to kind of see him, at least. I don't, getting a ring. It's like you said, it's out of the question most likely at this point. I think everybody's probably just kind of looking forward to him breaking the scoring record. But I would love to at least kind of see him maybe a couple more deeper playoff runs. Kind of go out with a bang and not be kind of like limping out the way that it's kind of like looking for this season. So we'll see.
No, 100%. And then I guess just to jump to the other side of the country as far as disappointment land, that'd be the Nets. And just, top down from Steve Nash to, James Harden demanding a trade to Kyrie with the vax shot to, to you can go to trading for Ben Simmons to him just not playing for no apparent reason. It's bad. KD missing all the games. Joe Harris out. They're struggling. If the Lakers just blew all 4 tires, they're riding on three flats in a donut. So it's bad. I just think.
And they're on a hill without the parking brake on.
Facts. It's just bad, man. I don't know. Yeah. So I don't know. I just think I'm not sure what they can do. I think obviously they could still make it. KD seems fairly determined to try to at least put the team on his back. Go down swinging like you just said. At least they seem to be trying to do that. But I don't know even if they get in, you're going to run into Giannis. Even if you get, what's the case? So,
right.
I just think they were. I still think they probably won the trade. But I think it's very disappointing to see that Ben Simmons hasn't played yet.
Yeah.
And I think
they say
he's supposed to be back by I think March 10th was I think when he was originally supposed to play for them. And and so we're a month from that and we haven't seen him. So I just not sure.
Yeah, I think right. Yeah, I think I saw something that said he might have had like a herniated disc or something that kind of ended up finding out. But, his whole situation, I mean, that's something I've never seen before as far as just, losing all that money in fines and, whatever that kind of looks like. But yeah, I mean, like you said, we talked about it before. We would have thought that like Lakers versus Nets finals would have been on some like Thanos versus Avengers type shit as far as just, like that's all we're talking about.
Once in a generation type matchup.
Yeah, and it's frustrating because I think just as a basketball fan, I mean, it sucks when KD go down. It's like, damn, another 25 games. You know what I'm saying? And then just watching Kyrie, like, I think he's played 20 games this year yet. And it's and even too, like, I always kind of thought their team was like better than what it looked, but then you watch them play, and if KD and Kyrie don't go for 30 each, like they don't have a shot most nights. Or one go for 50, the other one go for like 25 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like I was sitting back watching them play Memphis a couple weeks back. And like Memphis had like Ja Morant out, I'm sitting here thinking like, all right, like they're going, Brooklyn could maybe steal one. You know what I'm saying? Like they literally had to both score like 35 plus and still lost by like 15. And so it's gonna be real interesting to see what happens because, they're probably like the 10 seed right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I don't think they can get any higher than that because I feel like the Hawks might own the tiebreaker or something. I know they beat them like this past weekend, and that play-in, man, that's a dangerous game to play. It's one game. You run that risk of somebody, KD coming out maybe having a bad night or Kyrie not having the greatest night, or the other team just coming in hot and just hitting everything. There's a lot of things that kind of go into play. So
just to be factual, they're currently tied for the 8th seed at 41 and 38.
Okay.
And they're playing the Knicks right now, who are out of it.
Yep.
And then it's Charlotte at the 10th seed at 40 and 39. And then Atlanta, they're tied with Atlanta. But they just lost to them the other day. So,
yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think what might have happened was I think I saw that they were 10 seed yesterday, and maybe the Horn, obviously.
Right. Yeah. It shuffles quick. There's a bunch of games barely separate any of them.
Right. Right. Yeah. But yeah, I think it is just funny too because they're still like the favorites, like in all these sports books to win it all. Which is like top 3 favorites. They're up there. They're not like the favorite.
Yeah. No, that makes no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Because I've always said, I don't think, we're kind of past that point where it's like, all right, if we can just get like everybody healthy, we might have a shot. Now it's just like, team chemistry not there. You're not going to have your third, you're not going to have your third guy, and like I said, they're going to mess around and have to see, that juggernaut in Milwaukee, go see Miami. Just not the ideal draw. And that, and we've talked about just going back to where I think, some situations, I feel like that home court advantage or just getting the highest seed as possible is important because, they're already going to draw like one of the best teams in the league in the first round. So it's just not looking good as far as that's concerned.
Yeah. No, and I'm just looking at it here. Boston, Milwaukee, and Philly all have the same record.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So if you're talking about shuffling 1 to 2, you can go from second to fifth like that.
Yeah.
That's home court advantage to being on the road all the time.
Right. And it's crazy because, like, I don't think anybody's locked up the 1 seed yet either. So
it don't look like it.
And with that being said, you never know because somebody might.
I know you ride high on Miami, and it's just a squad that I don't believe in, I should say. But that's a quiet number one. They're sitting at 52 and 28.
Yeah.
And that's just not being talked about. And also just a side note, we just did it too, but it's so sickening turning on all the major news networks, and they only talk about the Lakers. They only talk about KD and them. It's like you won't even Miami has no love. Boston gets no love.
Yeah.
Phoenix really even none. They just had 63 dubs.
Yeah.
It's just kind of bizarre, how it really it needs to be spoke about just like more broadly how good some of these other teams really are. Because I think we're being robbed of how special some of these other talents are, like a Devin Booker or even Jimmy Buckets. He's an underrated great player for this time period. Yeah, so people like that just kind of.
Yeah, it's funny you brought up the Suns. OG Melton just texted me Booker MVP like literally like 30 seconds ago. But yeah, no, I agree, man. Like I'm to the point where I'm like, man, I wish they could have took the Lakers off TV like a month and a half ago and just put like Memphis or like Atlanta or like, more of like Phoenix. I mean, like I just want to see some more of these other teams. Minnesota, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of these teams
they just have a narrative they have to push, and it's one of those things where ESPN has the game on, so of course they're gonna have to talk about it because it kind of feeds into itself. But it's like we're like, I just feel like it's just crazy. It really is crazy that we're just not even – some of these other players aren't even being talked about. Like Giannis could possibly win the MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. And,
yeah.
And it just, we won't even – it's not even being talked about,
You're going to talk about how bad how bad like the Nets played last night and just harp on that and
Yeah. I seen a whole segment talking about how up until literally 2 days ago, the Lakers had a puncher's chance.
well, they ain't had a snowball's chance in hell as far as I'm concerned.
They said
like,
they called him they called the Lakers Mike Tyson because he got LeBron. They always got a puncher's chance.
Okay, all right. I think it is hilarious because like you said, they got a narrative to push, and it's just so funny that they can kind of call it that. And even Shaq says something about if they were to get into the play and they beat the Suns round one. They're 0-10 against the Suns since like game two.
Since he did that,
yeah. But so it like the media, like they're almost like, I'm like, do y'all even believe what y'all be saying at this point? You know what I mean? Because there's, like I said, I'm not a Lakers fan, but I'm definitely like a LeBron fan. And, it always was that thing like, okay, yeah, LeBron always got a shot. 7-game series, you'd be crazy to bet against them, like in most situations, you know what I'm saying? And even then, it's like, we watched the Suns win 63 games. Chris Paul missed the last 2 months. They ain't give a beat.
Nope.
And you still gonna sit back here with a straight face and say the Lakers would beat the Suns in the first round if they were to get into the playoffs? Like I don't know. But like you said, I mean, it's I know they got a job to do. They got to push the narrative. That's part of the reason why I just end up a whole morning while working this podcast and not ESPN anymore, just because I'd rather, there's so many other great players in the league right now that I'd rather hear about, than just continue to, beat a dead horse. Now, like I said, shoot another foot if they're both winning, both the 1 seed. Obviously it makes more sense, to kind of talk about more than them in the Lakers and the Nets. But it's like these dudes about to literally both miss out on the playoffs. Like there's a chance that the Nets might not make the playoffs. And we, what I'm saying, it's still like where's the love for like Boston that won like 35 of their last like 44 games or something crazy like that. Mm-hmm. You got, the Hornets, like they're, on the cusp of, getting back into the playoffs for the first time in a long time, and can't wait to see what, Lonzo, Miles Bridges, and Terry Rozier can do. The Bulls, they kind of been struggling with injuries and everything, but, I'm looking, forward to just kind of seeing a lot more of these teams that kind of been on the, on the bad side of, not making the playoffs and whatnot the last few years. And yeah, but like you said, you hit it right on the head. I mean, it's just pushing the narrative, and it's just kind of like what they got to do at this point. So.
Yeah, no, and I think I get it to a certain degree. I just think we should shine a spotlight on some of these players because it's a lot of special players around the league, and we're missing a lot of good additional highlights and just you can paint other narratives. I mean, there's other narratives like Chris Paul in his near the ending of his career, possibly the best point guard of all time. Devin Booker, bucket machine, only he probably has the 3rd or 4th highest scoring game of all time with 71 points. I just think they're, just not talked about. Just how much, the same thing for the Lakers or same for the Nets or the Lakers. If they had 63 wins right now, we literally wouldn't hear the end of it. It would be blasted. We would get a text every day about it. It would just be
all in our face.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of frustrating, and I just think that's why people are so shocked when somebody like Giannis can get it done last year. That's why people are, or you called it a few years back, even with the Heat. Just how if you can sit there and watch them games, you can see how talented they are defensively, or how special they are in other ways, even without a major superstar. And then people are completely blindsided when it happens. So.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I think obviously both of them, pretty disappointing seasons. And like you said, we were kind of talking about just like how a lot of college coaches are now college players that we used to watch growing up are now college coaches. And LeBron probably played till he's 40, 41, maybe call it good. KD. How old is he? Like 33, 34?
Around there, yeah.
He probably still – KD don't really strike me as a guy that would just try to, just hoop until he can't see straight. He might have 3 or 4 more years, call it good, So it's definitely disappointing because you want the best of the best, competing in the playoffs, into May and June. And not to say we're not gonna get, still good. We're still gonna get great basketball in the playoffs, but like I said, this like big time matchup. I mean, ever since these teams was assembled, a couple of years ago, or I say when Brooklyn was assembled a couple of years back. I mean, we would have thought that this was going to be, the matchup to look for in the finals over the next 2 or 3 years. At that point, a couple of years back.
Right. Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. It's just I don't know. It makes me wonder if potentially, hopefully, teams are beginning to realize these super teams aren't working.
Yep.
Like how good would the Lakers be right now if they just rolled the ship out with Lonzo and Brandon Ingram and all that? How good would the Nets be if they still had, that core when they had like Jared Allen and Karis LeVert and and Joe Harris? If you had all of that with KD and Kyrie, you would have probably been able to weather the storm a little better when people were hurt. Or so I just think maybe potentially that can swing this a little bit, or maybe that will kind of, because I think a lot of teams that are good now are found a way to get good off of like Milwaukee. That was through the draft. Free agents come in there. Miami, obviously, that's a free agent destination, but they don't have a mega superstar there. They just put together a bunch of good players. So hopefully, I just think that's better for the league, like you said, when we don't have to say this is the only 2 teams that have all the all-stars on it. Hopefully they make it, and if not, we don't know who anybody is. Not just a casual fan. I think that's what they want. The casual fan doesn't want to watch guys they don't know, but they don't know them because they only talk about fucking 2 people.
Right. Yeah, one of even the crazier things to think about too, kind of talk about how a lot of both these teams are just ship off players, trying to get the superstar or whatever, make form that big 3. So the Pelicans ultimately like ended the Lakers season, or kind of like knocked them all the way out of the play-in.
Right.
They they ended up shipping off Brandon Ingram, and he was calling LeBron a brick, and making free throws, taking jump shots, looking at him, laughing at him, and then not a couple weeks back, Spencer Dinwiddie got shipped away from the Nets, and I believe he got shipped away from the Nets when when they were trying to make some of them trades and whatnot,
mm-hmm.
and then he ends up hitting a game winner with Dallas to beat the Nets. So it's nuts because, like you said, I still think I think the thing that the Lakers did last year was keep as much as you don't like them, keep Caruso, keep Caldwell Pope, keep Kuzma, and then work a way to I think they could have just either kept like 2 out of 3 of those guys and try to get Buddy Hield.
Yeah, but Kuzma was public enemy number 1 last year to every LeBron fan ever, and if for wrong. I personally think similar to Russ. It's just public enemy number 1.
Yeah.
We have to fucking point and execute somebody, and it's going to be him.
Yeah, and the funny thing is they wanted to keep Taylor Horton Tucker, and he has played horribly. They wouldn't give him up for Kyle Lowry. Yeah. And what's also nuts to me is you was ready to ship off 5 players for Russ, but you wouldn't give up Taylor Horton Tucker for Kyle Lowry.
Agreed. I think they think that's one of our only good young players. I think that's what the thought process is. Like you said, we can't have if this don't work out, we're gonna have a whole team full of 37-year-olds.
Yeah.
And at least we should keep the 126-year-old. But I agree. I probably was a little hard on Caruso in general, but I just think it was funny. That goes back to the narrative. But I do think in general, I think it was probably a little. It's fun to poke jokes at. But in general,
it's hilarious. It's hilarious watching these senior citizens chasing Luka off a pick and roll, can't stay in front of nobody. You know what I'm saying? But that's where Caruso would have came in to come off the bench and just emphasis on defense.
Oh, for sure. I get his role. It was just like I said, kind of fun to poke jokes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But in general, I just think I don't know. It's crazy. The NBA is crazy. It's just it sways so fast. We could be saying all this, and then they could be trying to. In 2 months, we could hear about a super team in fucking the Utah Jazz or something. You never know.
Oh my God. I hope the worst for Utah Jazz every time they step on the court.
Yeah, and I just think these teams are going all in. Like I feel like LeBron, when he gets to a squad, they liquidate. Like we're going to go for it right now. Yeah. You're not gonna have a draft pick. You're not gonna have a good fucking young prospect. We're going for it. And then when that doesn't work out, it kind of looks bad. And like you said, he is strategic and he could be on the move. And
he don't care.
No, it is a business. It's a business.
Yeah. Right, because they try to ship him off and do whatever they was gonna do regardless. So it's like he might as well control his own narrative. I think it's great.
That's all I have to say. I think he probably should go. I just think.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I guess why stay? I guess.
Right. Yeah. Go to Cleveland. You can slide right into the 3 spot.
And just to. I guess is the word of the day here. But back to the narrative, him passing the scoring title in Cleveland in a Cleveland jersey. That looks better to me than him being on some random ass team, being in a Dallas jersey or being in even a fucking somewhere trying to win a championship. And right. But if he was at home in his home jersey, you don't really,
right. Yeah, it would hit a little different for sure. Yeah. So we'll see. I think how it. I know Rob Pelinka's sweating right now. It's really gonna be one of them situations to where, they really gonna have to. He gonna have to make some moves, and that's like you said. LeBron show up, you got to make it shake, or else he gonna be out the door. Yeah. So, we'll see what happens. Russ is saying how he plans on coming back if they'll have him back. I think they got to kind of keep him because I don't really know. You could probably because second round picking a player or something. I just I don't really know what his value is at this point. You know what I'm saying? But I know you're not getting 3 players in a first. I know that for sure. You know what I'm saying? So it's just one of them things to where they're gonna have to, move some pieces around and make it happen.
Such a big contract. Yeah, it's gonna be hard to move. Like you said, you're gonna give them 3 players. No, nobody's gonna do that. You're gonna give them, So it's gonna be very hard to. And why would he ever give up that money?
Yeah, I don't blame him. Kendrick Nunn picked up his player option, 5-point-something mil. And he just sat in street clothes all year. I don't blame him though. You might as well. This is why you get the money. You know what I'm saying? Them injuries, man. They come and they affect
my player option when they offer me the contract.
Right. You call an hour later. Yeah, I won't put my player option next year.
For that 2027. Yeah, I'm gonna need it.
Fully guaranteed, right? For sure. Okay.
Yeah, put that through.
Yeah. It's even funny. Ironically, you got the Nets are somehow down to the Knicks by 9 points. It's. I don't know. It's weird year for sure, but like I said, you got to give the credit to, the Suns, the Grizzlies, the Bulls, Heat, Celtics. A lot of these other teams are starting to just, come in and they're taking advantage. How I look at it, the window for LeBron is pretty much closed as far as get another championship. Who knows how much longer KD will be around. So you kind of hate to see them both just kind of limping around like this, like the way they are right now, though. So
yeah, no, I agree, and I don't think either one of them are quote unquote done. I think they'll be back in the mix, and they're always cooking some up. The 2 of the best ever do it.
I can't wait to see Ben Simmons with the Nets.
Yeah, I just wish when things were done that the media hopped off of it.
Right. Absolutely. For me, it's there's no reason to even talk about the Lakers throughout the playoffs or anything at all. They're not gonna be in there. What Magic say? They're not gonna be there.
That's so funny. That's hilarious. Yeah. Yes, sir. You got anything else for the people?
Hey, that's all I got, man.
Yes, sir. All right. Thanks for tuning in, people.
Yep.